In my last two videos, I broke down the 1.03 controller fix, which is a set of mods I endorse for fixing areas where the Gamecube controller lacks competitive integrity. The 1.03 controller fix expands on UCF tremendously by improving its wiggle and shield drop fixes and adding 3 brand new fixes in the form of 1.0 cardinal, dash out of crouch, and smash DI. These are the 6 mechanics I know of that ought to be fixed according to UCF's philosophy. The need to get UCF to an endgame state stemmed from not only my passion for the game, but also recent controller-related discussions. The box's increasing popularity has led to top players highlighting the need for parity between the Gamecube controller and box. These discussions were mostly aimed at nerfing the box until I presented a different approach. Having nerfed the box in every area I could think of, I knew that fixing the Gamecube controller was the next step for the community to take. However, the fixes I presented have been limited to UCF-style fixes up until now. Recently, it's become clear that the community is at a standstill between the box and the Gamecube controller. The box can't be banned due to the social good that it brings, and yet the Gamecube controller needs to remain a viable option so that people aren't pressured to make the switch. This paradigm can be seen in this tweet from Wisely, which emphasizes that the box is needed in order for many people to play the game. Axe, a top competitor, made a tweet that was in line with Wisely's, which read, "Box controllers are broken but shouldn't be banned, but they are clearly superior to Gamecube controllers." The 1.03 controller fix is a huge step toward resolving the concerns you just saw. However, it's not the only category of mods that I believe is warranted. There exists a mechanic in Melee where the box is at an advantage simply because it's able to pinpoint cardinal directions accurately. To be clear, the box's most basic functionality gives it an unavoidable advantage. That's because there's a technique in this game that makes the mistake of using the cardinal directions as its range when it'd be better off using the 50-degree line. The 50-degree line is a range used for techniques like up tilt and down tilt that lets you easily pinpoint the direction you want. The technique I'm referring to doesn't use this range when it arguably should, and the box automatically bypasses this issue. This is because the box doesn't need the assistance the 50-degree line provides in order to point in the correct direction, whereas the Gamecube controller does. Thus, there's an argument in favor of a new rationale that I call digital input parity. The philosophy behind digital input parity is that the community has agreed that digital inputs have to be legal, and so their inherent ability to point in the correct direction should be translated to the Gamecube controller. This will be done by redesigning a technique such that it uses the 50-degree line. I've thought DIP through very carefully, and so I'll preface this video by fully endorsing for this mod to be legal. I believe DIP to be just as valid of a rationale as UCF-style fixes in terms of making Melee more competitive, and so I'm excited to show you why. Without further ado, the technique in need of DIP is up throw and down throw. While this is rarely talked about, up throw and down throw have faulty programming in that their range is a thin corridor that doesn't exceed the x-axis dead zone. This makes it possible for you to fail these throws by being pulled slightly outside of the dead zone. At that point, you'll accidentally perform a forward throw or back throw instead. Up throw and down throw are the only techniques in Melee that suffer from this issue. As I showed you earlier, up tilt and down tilt utilize the 50-degree line, which makes pinpointing them seamless. Thus, up throw and down throw should be adjusted to the 50-degree line as well in order to remove the box's advantage in this area. I'm fond of this change not only for the sake of competitive integrity, but also because it's reasonable to assume that the 50-degree line not being used here was an oversight in the first place. The work I've shown in these past few videos marks the completion of 2 separate projects that began 5 years ago. I originally sought out to create the box in order to get my Melee career back. Shortly afterward, I realized that the Gamecube controller needed a software companion to coincide with the box's release. The 1.03 memory card is the endgame version of that software companion. To recap what's on this memory card, the 1.03 controller fix addresses mechanics that suffer from polling issues and small coordinate ranges. Something to note is that these fixes would be warranted regardless of the box's existence. However, fixing these mechanics causes the Gamecube controller to tie the box in the process, which is why they're closely related. The 4 mechanics that suffer from polling issues are dashback, wiggle, dash out of crouch, and smash DI. Then, shield drop and 1.0 cardinal need to have their coordinate ranges improved. These 2 mods ought to have maximized ranges as to prevent Gamecube controllers from being at a disadvantage. Next, Z-Jump is an advantageous remap that should be enabled via a button hold at the character select screen. This allows Gamecube controller users to simulate a claw grip. Finally, digital input parity is a new set of rationale that justifies redesigning up throw and down throw such that it utilizes the 50-degree line. DIP is different in that it's directly justified by the box's existence. This rationale is valid because we have to operate under the assumption that the box is legal. From there, the Gamecube controller deserves to have the box's advantages translated to it. I say this because the box was nerfed with the intention of creating parity in as many areas as possible, and DIP is in line with that approach. The 1.03 memory card provides the Melee community with the solutions it's been looking for when it comes to controller rule sets. The features I've described in this video have all been added to version v3, which is now available for purchase at box.com. Downloads aren't quite ready yet, but we estimate that they will be by Sunday. It'll be exciting to see how this memory card evolves within the community now that it'll be given some time to sink in. With that being said, thanks for following my controller legality series. I'll be providing Melee content more regularly now, so don't forget to subscribe.